podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Humans of Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan, and my guest in this episode is a multiple title winner in British Speedway, marking his testimonial year in 2024. He's won the top-level title with Wolves, and most recently, he captained the Sheffield Tigers to top-flight glory in 2023. He is Kyle Howarth.
Joined Sheffield and was at Sheffield, was able to win championship title with them. Well, that was great in 2017, and then obviously stayed with them and went to Wolverhampton and was able to win a title there, and then obviously get another title with Sheffield. So yeah, I've rode some really great clubs, and I've been really fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to do that.
Kyle Howarth began racing grass track and motocross as a youngster, was a relative late arriver to Speedway. He was only about 15 years of age when he began racing the sport, and he joined up with the Scunthorpe Saints in the National League. Fast forward to age 17, he's racing in a team with the Poole Pirates alongside Darcy Ward and Chris Holder. And now, of course, he's racing for the Sheffield Tigers, where he's been for a number of years, in fact, since 2016, and claimed that Top Flight League title, the very first Top Flight League title for Sheffield in 2023, and as captain, and the only rider to make it all the way through the season as well. So lots to chat about in Kyle's career, and of course, not least, his testimonial, which is just around the corner as well. So we'll talk about all of that. But first, welcome Kyle Howarth.
Hey, you all right?
Yeah, good, sir. So what's going on in the winter then for a top international speedway rider such as yourself? You're at this moment you're starting to prepare for the new season and everything. You've had a holiday?
Yeah, it's been quite a busy winter really. Me and my wife, we bought a house in the winter, and we've been renovating, and I suppose it's just renovating, and it's getting there slowly, but it's been busy really. I think it's been a non-stop. We've managed to go on a skiing holiday with my wife and the family and stuff, so that was nice. But just busy building bikes, preparing. It doesn't really stop Speedway in the winter. As soon as the season stops, you're sorting sponsors, organising new sponsors, covers, new bikes, new bike parts, and all this comes about. So all the bikes are built. We managed to get them done with the mechanics. We just kind of, at this moment in time, waiting to get out on the bike. And as we all know, the weather in the winter in England isn't the greatest, is it? It's a very wet season. So it's we've got a few practices booked at the moment, but how the weather is just at the minute, February, it's a bit of a wet month, isn't it? So it's just 50-50 whether we can get on the bike at the moment.
Doesn't stop, does it, Speedway? People think that, you get to the end of October and that's it. But for you, as soon as that season finishes, it's turning the attention to the next one, getting the bits for the bikes, building bikes, getting all the gear you need for the season ahead, sorting your various contracts and stuff out, and maybe a bit of downtime for yourself in between, but you've filled that by buying a house.
Speedway is a 12-month job, really. It doesn't really stop. Like, in the season, you're racing, travelling, still speaking to sponsors, and dealing with things in Speedway. Then you have your personal life where obviously a lot of us, we have families or, girlfriends, wives, whatnot. So also that you have that, and then in the off season, as soon as the season finishes, like, you just don't go hibernate for 5 months and then appear again. It's building bikes, getting new sponsors, trying to get sponsors back and trying to find new sponsors, and like you said, trying to do your deals with the clubs. And then organising for this year coming. And so there's a lot to it. It's not just about these shiny bikes and yourself rock up to the track and race and whatnot. There's a lot in it what goes in, and it's all preparation, and 12 months is just non-stop. And I feel like since the season's finished for myself, it's just not stopped, and I'm currently on the road to dropping some bikes off at Ipswich to go to Poland, and exactly all that. Like, it's not just your English stuff. If you're racing abroad, you've got your Polish or Swedish or whatnot stuff to sort out. So there's a lot to it.
And the season will be here soon, and your meeting is one of the very first, your testimonial, which is taking place at Owlerton Stadium in Sheffield. And well, tell us about that meeting, because it's a team event, so we're going to get a first look at the Sheffield team and a World Stars team as well. And you yourself now, you're turning your hand to being a promoter as well. How's that going?
No, first of all, I couldn't do it without Julie Redding. She's been a star, and she's been really a great help for me, and she's basically helping me run the testimonial and getting things organised. So she's been great to work with, and yeah, there's a lot to it. I understand. I have a lot of respect for Speedway promoters now. I see what it takes to run a home meeting at home, all the faffing about, and it's not just them opening the gates and a speedway meeting on the day. It's all your insurances, making sure your riders are all fit, and organising riders, making sure you've got your ambulance, and all these hidden covers what you didn't really know about. And so yeah, the testimonial's been going really well. We're doing the Sheffield versus rest of the world select. So the Sheffield team versus obviously the riders what have been announced so far. It's looking a really good lineup, and it's 14th of March at Sheffield. So I just thought I'd do something a bit different than just your standard old individual. I thought with Sheffield winning the league last year, I think it was great for the club and the team, and I think for the fans. And it's pretty much the same team who've won the league, so I thought it'd be great for the fans to have the winning team back, and we can do that, and then put a really good, solid World Select team together, and with the likes of Freddie Lindgren, Tobias Muzilak, and Niels Christian Iversen as the top three. I don't think that's a bad start, really, is it?
It's not a bad start, and to get Freddie Lindgren, I know Freddie's doing a few meetings around that same week, so people are going to have plenty of chance to see him, I suppose. But to see him going around Owlerton again is going to be something to behold. And I guess as well, the link there too is that not just that he happens to be in the country, but also a former teammate of yours at Wolves and a title winner at Wolves back then in was it 2016 as well? So
yeah, it was great. When I spoke to Freddie, he was like straight away, we're like, yeah, obviously we had some good times at Wolves, winning the league, and we rode together a lot. We got on really well, and I learned a lot of Freddie. He's a good, being a world-class Grand Prix rider for so many years now, and he still is at the top of his game, world number 2, and fair play to him. He's been great for British Speedway, and you've got to give it to him. He still supports British Speedway. He's done many years here, and he's still doing individuals at the start of the year, and he likes riding in England. He said that and when I spoke to him. So, no, it's great to have him on board, and I really do appreciate him helping me out.
Of course, people know what's happened to Wolves, but with Freddie Lindgren, of course, yourself, Rory Schlein, instantly there are 3 ex-Wolves riders, and may well be more to be announced as well. So give something for those Wolves fans who this year, of course, find themselves without a club to go and support some of the riders that have brought them joy over the years as well.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was great to have some Wolves. I think being a Wolves rider for 4 seasons was great, and I really had some good memories, so I thought it'd be nice to get some Wolves and get some Wolves fans over and give them something, because obviously it's such a tough year for the club last year and everything going on, and I think a club what had such a really good history about it, and they've always been at the top of the game. CVS and Pete Adams have always put a really successful team. They've always been around the playoffs, haven't they? And in 2016 winning the league, 2017 getting to the grand final, and the previous years they've got to the semis and they've been really good. So it's just a shame how it's gone, but this is Speedway at the minute, and hopefully they can be back in the next coming years, and hopefully they can be back in CBS, and then Pete Adams can be running a show again.
Well, that certainly is the plan, and I know from speaking to Pete Adams in that episode that we did a couple of episodes ago that he mentions in that he wants to win a 10th league title, and ideally he wants that to be with Wolves, and unless Wolves say categorically there is no comeback for them, then that's where he'll be. But he's not finished, that's for sure. Yeah,
he's been about. He's been great for the sport. He's definitely a great character and a great sense of humour on him, and working with him as a as a rider, and Pete being the manager, he's very, he knows what he wants, and he's a very clever team manager, and he's not won league titles for no reason. And as you just said, he wants number 10, but to win 9 titles is quite, a great record. But to make it 10, that would be very special. So, look, I'd love to see Wolves back, and think Steve, you've got to give it to CVS. All these years he's managed the club, and he's took that club to some great places, hasn't he, over the years? And so hopefully for them guys, Wolves can come back.
Let's talk about Sheffield last year. You finally won this league title. I say finally. Sheffield have never won a top flight league title before, and you came very close the previous year. And you will go down in history as being that title-winning captain. Of course, there was all sorts of other names involved. You were the only rider to make it from day one, press and practice, to the trophy presentation.
Yeah. No, it was unbelievable year. I think it was. You could say we had our ups and we had our downs for sure. The club made team changes, and there was injuries, and forced to make team changes, and that happens in Speedway. It's not the first, and it won't be the last, will it? And it was kind of a weird year because we was in the season, we wasn't doing no special. It was just ticking away. You had your Bellevue, who was obviously in form in the season, and they was beating people home and away, and then you had your Ipswich had some losses, and they was coming into form at the end of the season. We'd had a couple of losses at home, and we'd had some wins away, but we was kind of just in the middle. I don't think anyone could say who was going to win the league, if I'm honest. And obviously we had injuries. Sheffield strengthened up, likes of Ty Wolfenden, Chris Alder coming in, and kind of brought a bit of a nice spring. And it was such a shame losing Jack Alder at the time, because you look at his home form and away form for Sheffield. The last year and previous year, he's been outstanding, hasn't he, for the club? So obviously riders coming in, and we managed to do that, and it was go time towards the end of the season, and we come into the playoffs, and it was against Wolverhampton, and the weather was a bit crazy, it was raining, and we had that wet. We managed to go to Wolves and win at Wolves, and to come home, and we beat Wolves, and it brought a lot of confidence to the team. And then going into the grand final, I know obviously Ipswich, towards the end of the season, was so dominant at home, weren't they? They was beating nearly everyone by like 15, 16, 20 points. And we knew obviously it was going to be tough with Emil and Doyle and whatnot. And they beat us by 18 points, but there was something, and our heads wasn't down. They just caught us on a really off night, and they caught us, and fair play to them. Coming home, there was a lot of confidence. We'd had the previous 3-4 home wins. We'd had some really big home wins. So we thought, if we can catch them early on, I think we can do this. And there was a really good atmosphere in the team at the time. And I think the first 8 heats were very crucial. And I think after 8 heats, after 8 heats, we was back in it, wasn't we? And then by heat 10, we was up by 2, if I'm right. And it was all to play for. And then, I think history was made for Sheffield winning the first title, and it was such a relief to get that off our shoulders.
What was it like after? Were there celebrations afterwards? Because I know we spoke to Josh Pickering, who sort of basically said he went straight home to watch it back on TV because he couldn't believe it. What was it like for you?
Crazy moment, really, because I think, when they Sheffield coming into the league and getting into the semis in 2021 and 22, getting into the grand final against Bellevue and losing, and last year getting into the final again and winning, it was such a relief. It was kind of like a bubble had burst, you know what I mean? Like, just, we've done it. It was nice. The atmosphere in the stadium was electric, and went in the bar and the fans were just crazy. It was packed. It was nice to see a Speedway bar like that. If I'm honest, really packed to the rafters. You couldn't really get in. It was so busy, and it was just great for the club. I went home, and if I'm honest with you, I've watched little clips back. I've not watched the meeting back, but it was just great. Like, there's just so much going on and so much to remember, and there was just a lot of happy people around, and it was nice to give back to the fans, the promotion and the sponsors to give something back, and it was nice to see that as a rider.
Yeah, definitely a memorable day. Looking at the Sheffield team now, you have kind of managed to retain, really that sort of nucleus of that team that did win. So it's not like it's all wholesale changes. It's a few tweaks here and there, but largely it's the team that finished the season. Which, considering you've got Woofy, Chris, and Jack Holder all in the same team, that's quite a strong spine.
Yeah, for sure. I think Chris being a world champion, he ain't a world champion for no reason. He's rode at a world level for a long time, and he's still a class act. Wolfie, 3-time world champion. I don't think you can get much better than that, can you? And then you've got Jack Holder, who's a current Grand Prix rider who's had some very, very big. He's had some wins in the Grand Prix. He's had a good Grand Prix season last year, and he's been on form. And you look at him for Sheffield, he's been great for Sheffield, haven't you? So the top three, and then coming into me and Pico, we know what we can do. We know we can improve, and we know we can score points on our day. And then the reserves in Jason and Dan, I think they've had the first dip in the top league last year, and they know what to expect now. So yeah, it's looking a solid team, and definitely I think a team what can run up there for another league title for sure, no doubt.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? And I think a much stronger league as a whole, looking at the other teams now. You've got Oxford, of course, coming into this level with, they've got Magic Janowski and they've got Bomber. They're coming in, tooled up, you'd say. Birmingham moving up now, largely because they have to, but they've put together a competitive side, you'd argue, as well. And then looking at, the other teams, Ipswich still got Emil and Doyle, for example. Bellevue have still got a strong side with Dan Bewley and Brady Kurtz and so on, and Jamin Lidsey. And so it's, again, you're looking at these 7 teams, and, it's very hard to say who's going to make the playoffs and who's going to miss out. You can argue a case for them all.
It's nice to see these riders back, and it's nice to see England strengthening up as a whole. Like, you've got your Piotr Pawlicki coming back, your Magic Janowski, these riders coming back, and your Woofy's coming back, your Chris Holder's come back, and you've got your Emma Safoot and off, your Doyles, your Jack Holder, and your Niels Christian Eves, and all these riders. It's nice to have these back. So Dan Bewley, your Jamin Lindsay, your Brady Kurtz and people. So yeah, it's looking really strong, and like you just said, you actually don't really know, and I really do think this year's going to be one of them years. I think if you can really get the ball rolling early, get some away wins under your belt, get some really good solid home wins, get the team going, I think that'll be really crucial this year, because I don't think you can afford to slip up a lot this year for sure. I don't think there's going to be much room for error. There's going to be a lot of, I reckon, some tough home meetings, and there's going to be some really tough away meetings. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think whoever make it into the semi-finals, fair play to them, they'll deserve it, and whoever gets to the finals and whatnot, well, fair play.
People often associate speedway tracks inside dog tracks as being tight and technical, and people think of Wolves or, say, Edinburgh or somewhere like that. But Owlerton is quite the opposite. It is factually the fastest track in British Speedway. You reach higher speeds there than anywhere else. It does have its quirks to it, though. What is it about the track that maybe gives Sheffield a little bit of a home advantage every now and again?
I think it's changed since they've gone from the Championship to the Premiership, obviously because of the riders. And now, it just seems to be riding even faster. And I think people probably say that sounds weird, but there's no room for error. When you're racing people like Dan Bewley and your Jamin Lindsay and your Brady Kurtz or your Jason Doyle's, your Emma Safoot, if you're in front, if you make a mistake of coming past, where in the Championship you could probably make the odd little mistake and still be in front. But when you're racing these guys, there's just no room for error. And from the gate, from dropping the clutch from the start, you've got to be on it. And it just makes it that little bit more harder, doesn't it? Because when you're racing these boys, and especially when you're racing them, if you're trying to pass them, it's not easy, is it? So Sheffield as a whole, as a home track, you've got to be on it. You've got to have fast equipment. You've got, as you've noticed, you ride a lot close to the fence. It's kind of the home straight the back straight's like a straight, but the home straight's like a bit of a D. The back straight's a bit like a D, like where it like you go down the back straight and you're turning all the time in a way, and then the home straight you do get your wheels in line. So there's a lot of lines to Sheffield, and it rides a really fast track. You rail the boards, and it can be a very scary track if I'm honest. Sometimes it still scares me sometimes, but I think anyone would say you really want to try and get your lads dialed in at home and get a really good home track advantage, because if you can do that, I think you can make life a little bit easier for yourself, for sure.
On the subject of big tracks, you're going to be riding at Scunthorpe in the Championship as well, leaving behind Plymouth, who you're with in 2023. So a change and new scenery in one respect, but also back to where it all started for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Plymouth didn't work out for me last year, and I think I'm more of a fan of the big, fast, open tracks, I can't lie, and it's a new challenge. Really looking forward to it. I've worked with Rob and Rob Godfrey and Dave Howe before, but I'm looking forward to that again. Rob's put a really good team together with Simon Lambert, Hannah Martin, and Armtoft and Jake Allen and that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that team. It's looking a new challenge, and it's not far from Sheffield. So Sheffield's on a Thursday, and then I can stay up north at my parents' house, and then I can go to Scunthorpe the next day, where it's an hour and 20 minutes away. So, it works well with the travel-wise too. So it's a new challenge, what I'm really looking forward to.
And a slightly new look to the Championship as well, and some different riders coming into it for the first time as well. Some younger riders also getting their first chance too. So set to be an interesting year at that level also. Yeah,
there's some, as you've just said, there's some exciting teams in the Championship, and there's some riders been chopping and changing, and there's some faces at new different clubs. So yeah, it'd be. I think personally on Scunthorpe, on their behalf, I think they've got a solid team, 1 to 7. I think that team, if it can start off, I don't see why not that team can't be in the running for a title itself. So, but yeah, there's some interesting teams, but no, definitely not right in Scunthorpe.
And Scunthorpe open up against Workington, your first home fixture, and then you're back at Northside the week after, aren't you? So you'll be heading up to Workington. Is that the first time you've raced there, or have you had any practice so far?
No, never. I'm supposed to be practicing actually this week, maybe Thursday, Friday, but weather depending. But the weather's not been too great this week, has it? So no, it's new. I'm doing the Ben Fund. So that'll be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to that, spinning some laps there. I think it's great to see Workington back. I used to ride for Workington years ago, and at the old Derwent Park. That was such a shame to see that track go, because that was a great racetrack. But no, it's nice to see Workington come back, a new big track. Steve Lawson, he looks like he's built a fantastic race course, and so yeah, so looking forward to seeing that place and spinning some laps and see how it goes.
The Waverley Hotel, I'm sure, are pleased that Speedway's back, and as a former Comet, I guess you know what I mean there.
yeah, the good old Waverley, definitely got some history in there, and if that place could tell some stories, I think it'd be very interesting. But no, it's like I said, it's just nice to see Workington Speedway as a whole back on track, and I think it's great to see them fans back. And I'll know some faces from when I used to race there, so I'm definitely looking forward to going up there again.
And, of course, the Ben Fun meeting, a fantastic curtain raiser for this big season for Workington. Some world-class riders racing there, Freddie Lindgren, Dan Bewley, and many others as well. And a fantastic cause that it's for, which I'm sure has supported you at times in your career also. Yeah, great charity and a great cause. And look, you don't really want any rider to use it, but when it's tough times and injuries do occur and they're there to help, every little bit helps for sure. So they're great, so it's always nice to give back. And when the phone rings, or I said to Steph, who helps run the meeting, I said, if there's a spot, put me in, and you don't have to ring me, I'll just do it anyway, because it's just great to give back to the sport, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, looking forward to that. You're on your way to the glittering docks of Ipswich, you said. Are you riding yourself in Poland this next year then? Yeah, I've signed for a club in Gniezno in the second league, so I'm off to take my bikes over there to
to get basically shipped over to Poland, and then I'm flying out next week to go over to Poland to meet people and show my face and start getting that underway. So it's a new challenge for me, something what I feel like I've needed for a while now, and something what I'm really looking forward to. Poland is, as you know, a lot of would say it's probably the middle, probably where everyone wants to be in Poland. The tracks out there, the riders out there, your big names out there. The only way you get better, really, I guess, is just riding in against better riders each week, isn't it? And Poland seems to be the #1 speedway in the world right now, and you've got your likes of your Bartosz Szmajlik coming from there, and who's probably the pound for pound the best speedway rider in the world right now, isn't he? And so that's definitely a challenge what I'm looking forward to.
And who are your teammates there? Because that's a team that's had a few British-based riders in there.
So Sam Masters is racing in the team, and then Kevin Walder. I used to know Kevin from when he used to race in England, and then I think Kasper Gomolski. I used to know Kasper from when he did a little stint at Swindon and Poole. So yeah, I know a few of them. So obviously it shouldn't be too bad. I should go over there and introduce myself to the team and whatnot and the other riders. But no, I think as a rider, as you know, Speedway, you just race. 1 minute you could be racing on a Monday against them, and on the Wednesday they're your teammates. So no, it's a new challenge, but definitely I'm looking forward to it.
As I recall, it's the sort of track that British style of riders tend to go well at. So I think that's a good choice for you. I think you'll go well there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. It apparently it's like a big slickish track. I've never been there, so summer I'm looking forward to it in that type of way, because obviously we all know the Polish speedway tracks. Some of them, Torun, they're all big, fast. So I've watched plenty of videos. I've seen Sam, and I know speaking from Josh Pickering, he rode there last year. It's kind of like a bit, some would say, a British-based track. So definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully I can get to grips and start practicing soon over there and getting a setup, something what I'm happy with.
So it's going to be busy, really, when things get fully going, with 2 leagues in Britain and then riding in the Polish second division as well. It's going to be a busy 2024.
Yeah, busy. I don't know once the season starts when I'm going to be home, but sounds like I'll be living on the road a lot more and living out of hotels and so we're all good. We're ready for it. This is what the winter break's for, to chill out and to see these things. But all travelling, the airport runs and last minute dashes, I'm pretty sure they're going to happen. So yeah, it's all to start and get used to.
Sheffield Tigers captain and new Scunthorpe Scorpions #1 for 2024, Kyle Howarth, with us on Humans of Speedway. And in the next part, we'll get into Kyle's early years. How did he get started in Speedway in the first place? All on the way on Humans of Speedway. Welcome to Humans of Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan. If you haven't already, make sure you like or subscribe or follow or whatever the instruction is on your app of choice. And don't forget, you can also now get the podcast on YouTube as well in audio format, but another way that you can follow it and get updates as soon as a new episode drops. So we're chatting with Kyle Howarth of the Sheffield Tigers and the Scunthorpe Scorpions in 2024, but he's raced for many, many teams in British Speedway over his career, and he gets ready to mark his testimonial year as well with a big event at Owlerton on March 14th. But how did it all start for you, Kyle? You've always been around bikes, haven't you? And I think you came from more the motocross side of things, but you were just beyond a toddler really when you first got on a bike.
Yeah, I used to race, 4-year-old. I was on a peewee and places, things like that. I used to go watch my dad race motocross with his mates and sit in the van, and then he'd come in and I'd go on the kids track, and every weekend really just being around bikes and going to my dad's car garage, and the bikes were there, and just watching my dad and my brother used to ride a little bit and then all of a sudden just being around it is all my life. That's all, in a way. I think most of these lads will say that's all you ever know sometimes, being around it all your life. So still love it to this day. Still get the same buzz. I think at the start of the season, still get them butterflies and nerves in the start of your belly, because it's coming up. And so yeah, riding bikes coming from motocross, and then I did a little bit of grass track with my dad, and then 2009 I went to Cardiff GP. I think it's when Jason Crump got a 21-point maximum. And I went watching it. I went watching it with my dad and his friends, and I seen the kids race before then. And my dad said, "Do you want to have a go?" And then 2 weeks later, we went to a Buxton training school, and I hit every fence panel. I think I knocked every fence panel down. And I don't know you'd say this, but the buzz started from there. If you want me to be honest, 2 weeks later, I was doing an amateur meeting at Scunthorpe, and I think I took every fence panel down there too, if I'm honest. And it was I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I went to it and I thought it was boring. I thought, who wants to race in a circle? But getting on it and getting the buzz was totally different, and I got hooked from day one. So, and then from 2009, with a click of a finger, and I don't know where it's all gone. If I'm honest, like it just happened so fast. Traveling here, there, everywhere, doing the British under-15s and then the British under-18s. Then doing the British under-21s and going doing the World under-21 rounds to racing and signing the pool as a 17-year-old lad, and here, there and everywhere. And now I'm 30-year-old and think, God, where's it gone?
It's one of the perks of getting older, isn't it? I think the years just go by faster and faster, and before you know it, all this season will be all done and dusted, and it'll be all over again, because it's going to come at you thick and fast, isn't it? When things do get underway in March.
Speedway, as any lads will tell you, when it kicks off in March, like before you know it, you're in the mid-season and you think, I've only got 3 months left. And then if your team's not doing well, you could be done for August. And if your teams are doing well, you could be going into October. So no, it's Speedway, the travelling lifestyle. Like I said, like throughout your career, you feel like it goes so like a click of a finger and it's over. So no, it's happened so fast. And I was speaking to a couple of lads this week, actually, a friend who I still speak to, Ash Morris. We started the British under-15s together, and we was talking, where's it gone? And he's 29 and I'm 30, and I'm thinking we sound old, but it's just gone so quick.
And so what now? Obviously, we're recording this in February, so March is around the corner. Are you geared up for that month, or is March like, you're sort of just getting into it? You've got your sort of pre-season friendlies almost, like your testimonial, for example, Ben Fund, and then does the real work begin in April for you?
Yeah, because March is a funny month for Speedway, because I know you got your press days, you got your testimonials. It's kind of a bit of a faffing around month, because your press days, you go there, you're waiting around, pictures and bike, and practices, and then you get March out of the way, really. Like, your 3 months of the year's gone already, hasn't it? I know it's crazy, but then it's like 9 months till Christmas, and you think, what? And then the Speedway comes, and all of a sudden, I'll see you, and I'll probably see you at BSN Day, and you'll be like, I'm speaking to you, can you believe it? We're in August, and you think, yeah, we're in August already. What's happened? What? And you think, I've got so many meetings to fit in, and you've had the rain-offs, you've had this, you've had that, and all the thing. You've got 25 meetings to fit in yet before playoffs or whatnot, and you think, it's crazy, innit? And how it goes. Like last year, I think, for example, I had 6 weeks off for Plymouth because we had rain-offs and rip-offs and this and that, and then towards the end of the year, it was just chaos.
Yeah, it comes at you quick, doesn't it? Especially when you've got some clubs catching up on meetings, and then you've got playoff finals and semi-finals and all that to go through as well. Let's get back on track though, and talk about how you found your way into Speedway and stuff. And you had some National League rides or equivalent, that level of Speedway initially with Scunny. You rode for that Bournemouth team as well, Edinburgh. You rode for the Bellevue Colts. And then it was like you got into Workington and also then Poole in 2012. Now, that Poole team at the time was just full of talent, wasn't it? You were 17 when you got into it, and it was a team that had the likes of Chris Holder. So you reunited with him now, I suppose. Must be a bit weird. But also Darcy Ward, Davey Watt. That team of 2012 was quite an impressive one.
I'd only ever jumped on a speedway bike at 15 years old. So from 15 to 17 to going into the top flight was quite a big draft, and I remember getting the phone call off Matt Ford, if I'm honest, and do you want to double up and do you want to share a reserve spot? And I said, I'm probably a bit too young, but, I'll have a go and dip my feet in. And I was still learning racecraft, as you do, still learning now. But I was probably a couple of years too early, if I'm honest, but it was great to learn that. I was in a team with Davey Watt, Chris Alder, Darcy Ward, these riders at the time, and Magic Inoski, and it was such a hard league, and I was getting 2-3 points at reserve when I look back now, and it wasn't really bad because I was 17-year-old. I'd only been into British Speedway like 2.5-3 years, and I was in the top league getting 2-3 points. And a lot of people say, oh, it's only 2-3 points, but I'd only been on a bike 2-3 years, so I was quite happy that learning. And yeah, it was tough. That league back then, wasn't it? With your Bellevues, your Wolverhampton was stacked with your Woofies, your Freddie Lingland, your Peter Carlson, and your Ipswich at the time, your Scott Nichols, your Bombers. It was such a tough place, but no, it was great. I learned a lot, and that's where it all started really for me, like moving on in my career.
You've ridden for some good names in British Speedway. When you look at the likes of the Pool Pirates, Wolves, Sheffield, Workington, of course. So you're riding for Pool in the top league, but also Workington in that, what's the championship, of course, now. And so, that's good experience and some decent riders in that side as well, even though they weren't overly successful.
Yeah, for sure. It's been great. Workington, had some really enjoyable times there. Didn't really manage to win much. Then obviously joined Sheffield, and was at Sheffield, was able to win a championship title with them. Well, that was great in 2017. And then obviously stayed with them, and obviously went to Wolverhampton and was able to win a title there, and then obviously get another title with Sheffield. So yeah, I've rode some really great clubs, and I've been really fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to do that. And I look back now, I remember doing a stint with Coventry. That was a great time. Got to the grand final against Poole in 2014 or 15, if I'm right, and we got to the grand final and we got beat off Poole. But yeah, I've rode for some really great clubs over the years, and it's been great.
It was all happening for you when you were younger, though, because you also had this opportunity with Great Britain as well, and you were in that 2015 World Cup squad. So again, that's a great piece of experience to have had at that age too.
Yeah, Roscoe, and it was a really good stepping stone, and it was great to see. A lot of people don't know, but when you do these, as you're getting older, the financial is massive. Like, to have the financial to do these meetings, because it's not just rocking up on a speedway bike in these foreign countries and appearing, and there's a lot of money goes into it. So the Team GB thing was massive for me, and to be able to get that, and I didn't manage to get a ride, but to be able to be a part of it at the time, it was great. It was in Denmark to see how it worked. It was a World Cup, so all the world-class riders were there, and it was great to be part of the squad with Ruffy and people like that, and to get the opportunity to do that.
Was that one? I seem to remember, and it might have been Woofy that put the picture on, that you all had branded teamwear.
Yeah,
and
Roscoe basically messed up. He says he didn't, but he did, and everyone had jackets, and it said Ty Woofenden, Danny King, or mine said Carl Howarth. So that's why Woofenden calls me Carl now. He never calls me Kyle. So on interviews, when people say, why does Woofy call you Carl, that's where he calls me.
Yeah.
So he also calls me, because I'm from Manchester, he calls me Carl Pilkington, the guy, and he says I'm like him, but I'm nowhere near like Carl Pilkington, but that's what he calls me.
I just remember Woofy putting this post on, and it was just a picture of your jacket, and he just put, my mate Carl, and there was nothing else. It was
Yeah, so basically Roscoe started that, and that was Roscoe's fault.
Sort of doesn't surprise me in some way, but we did an episode of this podcast with Alan Rossiter not long ago, about 5 or 6 episodes ago. So if people want to cycle back through that and listen to Roscoe's stories, and yes, there are stories, as you'd expect, but modern day legend of Speedway, you'd say.
Oh, he's a character for sure, Roscoe. Obviously, I live near Swindon, so sometimes I pop in on him sometimes, and we have a yeah, he's a good bloke. He's been good for British Speedway. He's a character for sure. People either love him or hate him, and he's been great for Swindon Speedway. He managed to bring some titles to Swindon Speedway, didn't he? And, unfortunately, that's another club that's gone, and hopefully one day we can see them back on track. But yeah, he's definitely a character. Roscoe had some good times, and hopefully you can see him back in British Speedway one day as a manager again.
Yeah, I think he's open to it, but it's got to be on his terms. He wants to have full control over who's in the team and all that kind of thing. So fair enough to him, as you say, he's a busy enough guy. But I wouldn't say we've necessarily seen the back of Roscoe in a management role just yet.
No, I think Swindon, coming from Swindon, he kind of had that where he built his own teams and he wanted the riders what he thought he was capable of winning the league, and obviously he's won the league, so he does have a rough idea how to play, doesn't he? And yeah, I'm pretty sure Roscoe will be back. Obviously, it's got to suit him. He's got a family, he's got kids, and obviously his job, and he runs a pub. So I guess it's all got, as we all know, it's all got to suit, and it's got to work right for him, I guess.
You've worked with some big managers. You mentioned there Roscoe on that scene, but Midlow, you've got Steady now, Pete Adams. For you, what makes a good team manager?
I think just a team manager being himself. Like, for example, I worked with Stuart Dixon, very passionate guy, very, very passionate. His team talks are like football team talks. He's not scared of effing and jeffing and pointing in your face and telling you when you've been crap, you're crap. You need to sort your effing this out and get sorted. And then you've got your likes of Simon Stead, who's calm, collected. He's been a rider himself. He's rode at a top level himself. Who knows when riders are putting it in and knows who riders are not putting it in, and he knows them last heat deciders, what it's like to be in them, and he has his ways. And Midlow, he's been a rider. Roscoe's been a rider. I think it's always great to work with a manager who's been a rider, because he knows what it's like to be in them positions, like them last heat deciders, when obviously there's a lot of pressure on, and these big meetings and people like that, they understand, you know what I mean? But then you've also got your Pete Adams, who if I don't think he has been a rider, has he? But he knows what to do. And Stuart Dixon, I think he had a ride back in the day, if I'm right. But everyone's different, aren't they? But I think it's just being yourself, really, and just being honest. And I think obviously it's not just about filling a program, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's about working your tactics. Someone like Stuart, he's very, I'd say, a football manager in a way with his tactics. But then someone like Simon Stead, he might have he's got the program in the back of his head too, and he knows when, if he needs to make a reserve switch, this is what he's going to do and whatnot, and he goes from there, really.
It was interesting chatting with Pete Adams, and we did, talk about this, that he's always been conscious that he's not a rider, and he didn't want to tell, riders to do something that he'd never done himself, which is why he always has taken time to have someone sort of in his corner who is a rider. For example, like Ollie Olsen, who he used to work closely with when he first started at Coventry, and many other riders have done that similar role in the past to sort of give him, that insight that he needs.
I think with Pete, he's worked with some big world class riders over the years, hasn't he? And I think for him, it's probably learned off these riders how to deal with other riders, because every rider's different. In life, in work, you have to deal with individuals differently, don't you? Everyone's different, and having a manager learning his lads and how to speak to other riders and deal with them and how to get your best out of riders, because some riders, in a way, they get treated different or spoken to different, and Pete obviously knew how to do that, and he got the best out of his riders for sure. You look at that, you see, when you win titles, you do have you must have a clue what you're doing.
In your time, you've also won silverware in the championship pairs, which has always a big one at Somerset because it was part of the Cardiff weekend, so it always used to pull a big crowd. But you did it twice with Sheffield, and once in that team alongside Charles Wright, and you're riding in Charles Wright's testimonial as well, and bringing back maybe a bit of that magic. I don't know, but a good event to win that, and a fun one to win too.
No, I did that with Charles back in 2018, and then 2019 did it with La Cibiera at Sheffield. So that was awesome. To be able to look back and see your name on the trophy and you've won it. It's a nice, you could say, prestigious trophy back in Speedway. It's one what people wanted to win. Definitely a Somerset, pulled in a big crowd, and you'd win that. And it was the atmosphere at Somerset was electric, wasn't it? So no, I think Oxford now is a similar place. Last year it was packed to the rafters. It was great. So to be able to get the opportunity to represent my club, and hopefully I can do that for Scunthorpe this year. And you never know, we can lift some silverware.
Well, Scunny got the taste for silverware, didn't they, last year? They won the Knockout Cup. Maybe the championship pairs might be something on your radar again. I don't know. You maybe to get yourself a hat-trick of those. It's coming back to Oxford this time, but sort of event that Scunthorpe could have a chance in. Yeah,
for sure. Like I said, I think Rob's really built Scunny up to be a powerhouse team over the years, and they did really well last year. We're winning the KO Cup, and he's trying to move the club in the right direction. And yeah, so look, the team's looking steady again this year, and I'd love to be able to play a really big part and help the club out and help them bring some silverware. And maybe, people like the pairs, lights like that, whoever's riding, what rider's in form on the day or coming towards it. And Rob and David, how I think the riders are, and hopefully the riders can go do some damage and get a silverware.
And we were talking about team managers that have, been riders themselves and moving in that direction. David Howe is one of those now. Of course, he's been mechanicking for Ryan Douglas, who's now not riding in Great Britain. So he's a familiar figure around Scunthorpe, but now taking the helm of the team as well. So he's your gaffer now.
He's been there. You can't fool him. He's been there. He's done it. He's wore the T-shirt, rode for Wolves, rode at Cardiff, rode these big meetings. Now he's a spanner man for Ryan Douglas. So he's not one, if you say to him, oh, my equipment, and you're rocking up with poor equipment, he's going to say, look, you need to sort your equipment out. There's no excuses, and he's been there. And like I said, sometimes it's always good to have a manager who, when it comes to these big meetings and where he's got to make these big choices, he can put himself in them shoes and think, right, well, I've been here before. What do I think I could do, or what do I think's best, and go from there, really. So I think it's a new challenge, him being a manager, and I think it's a great challenge. It keeps him involved in Speedway, a sport what he's loved and what he obviously still does love. So he's been at Scunthorpe now I'd probably say you could look at David, and he's part of the club there, isn't he? He's part of the furniture, let's say. So no, it's going to be great to work with him as a rider, and hopefully we can do good.
Kyle Howarth on Humans of Speedway, and he is going to be lining up as number one for the Scunthorpe Scorpions in 2024, and of course captaining the Sheffield Tigers as well in the Sports Insure Premiership. In the next parts of Humans of Speedway, though, we'll hear how Kyle's dream Speedway meeting might turn out, including who would make his all-time 1-7 in the next part of Humans of Speedway. You're listening to Humans of Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan. Don't forget to keep an eye out for the official British Speedway podcast, No Brakes, No Fear, which will be returning in the next couple of weeks at the start of March. We begin all the previews you need ahead of a bumper season of British Speedway. Right now, though, we're chatting to the captain of the reigning champions of British Speedway's Sports Insure Premiership, the Sheffield Tigers. Kyle Howarth is with us. Kyle's also marking his testimonial year in 2024 with a big meeting with some well-known names, some world stars, including world number 2 Freddie Lindgren in the lineup. That's on the 14th of March. But right now, Kyle, we want to know how you're actual dream Speedway meeting would look if we took all the shackles off, no problems whatsoever, and how your perfect meeting would be. And we'll start by getting a look at what your dream track would be. What is your favourite track in Speedway?
Do you know what? I've always liked the look of Torren. Torren looks... I went to the GP, you sat there, it just looks like the gods, like, it's the dog's bollocks done it, like, it just looks mint. So maybe it's something like Torren, it just looks unbelievable.
Yeah, nice big track. It was Per Jonsson designed it, didn't he, Torren?
Yeah, you go watch a Grand Prix there, you get there, you walk through the doors and you go upstairs and you sit down and you think, wow, like, this is some track, and that place does create some great racing, doesn't it?
Okay, that's the racing. What would you say has been the best atmosphere that you've witnessed in Speedway?
Now, I tell you what, the best, 2016 Bellevue versus Wolverhampton Grand Final. They just hated each other. And the atmosphere, Wolfie winding the fans up, and it was just so electric. The Bellevue fans was like going crazy. The Wolverhampton fans on the back straight, and obviously Freddie Lindgren and Matty Zagar had that tiff, didn't they, down the back straight. It caused a bit of atmosphere. The Bellevue fans were getting riled up, and it just caused an atmosphere. And obviously then we won, and then they was getting angry. It was just crazy. It was great.
There's no more a volatile atmosphere in British Speedway, I think, than when Bellevue are under the cosh on their home track.
You don't like it.
It doesn't go well, does it?
No, I think probably Mancunians, and they're very you've got to give it them. They've got great support, and the supporters get loud and they get a bit leery, but I think it's great for Speedway. It makes a bit of entertainment too, and for sure I'd probably say the new rivalry is probably now Bellevue Sheffield, isn't it? Sheffield have got the Barmy Army, and they made a bit of a noise, and there's probably a bit of a rivalry there now, obviously being over probably 30-40 miles apart. So yeah, it's great. It's great to see these teams getting like that and creating a great atmosphere.
In Sheffield these days, of course, bringing their own atmosphere. The Barmy Army are getting a name for themselves, aren't they? At Sheffield home and away, and sometimes not even at Sheffield fixtures. They just turn up for a bit of Speedway and to cheer on the riders. But all a good bit of atmosphere and bit of banter and all.
No, they're great. I think it's they've done Sheffield really great, and for the riders when we're there, you hear them and they're all singing and chanting stuff. It's really good. It's good. It's a bit like football, you could say, and it's great for the riders. It creates a laugh, and everyone has a laugh, and you hear them. They're in the background singing the chants and that, and yeah, it's great. Have
you been serenaded by the Barmy Army? I have. Outside Walkabout in Cardiff and St Mary's Street at 1 o'clock in the morning. It did happen. How about you?
No, one meeting obviously was in McDonald's after the meeting once, and one meeting they cheered me saying, Howarth's here, Howarth's there, he likes Big Mac and he doesn't care, something like that. I don't know. I don't know. It's, God me, it just make you laugh, some of them.
All good value. Right. On to the big topic now. Who would make your dream team, your all-time 1 to 7? You've got 7 riders. Who's going in that team?
Jason Crump. I like Lee Richardson. I rode with Lee a few times. Darcy Ward. Oh, God, this is a tough one. Crump, Richardson, Ward. I've got to stick Chris Holder, and I like Chris Holder. He was great. Lee Adams, Nicky Pedersen, one more. Who am I thinking of? Got me on the spot. I've probably got to say, do you know what? I've got to give it to him. Bomber, I love the way he rides. Bomber's just class. I like him. He's just such a great racer. When I race against him, I was at Glasgow last year, and I was in front of him, and I didn't know where he was coming. Inside, outside, inside, outside, inside. And I got over the checkered flag, and I was like, mate, you just had me, and my throttle was just jammed on, and he was just laughing. Like, the guy's just class for racing.
He's a nightmare to race against, I imagine. He's inside, outside, all over the place, and never gives up. And you can't really ever relax with Bomber around you, can you?
Yeah, I remember I was on last year. I think it was E13 for Plymouth, and we was at Glasgow, and I was winning, and he passed me, and I passed him back, and then he passed me, and then I passed him back, and then he passed me back, and I'm thinking, where the F are you coming from? Yeah, nah, he's great. He's been great for Speedway, Bomber has, definitely.
Yeah, absolute legend, and looking forward to see him again in all the leagues he's racing in as well in British Speedway this year. Of course, Glasgow and Oxford in the Premiership. Let's finish on the subject of teams. Then you've ridden for quite a few well-known names in British Speedway, well-known teams. But for you, what would be the best team, actual team that's existed?
Poole have always been a tough team. Matt Ford has always put a good team together, hasn't he? Every time you go to Poole, they're always tough. It's not often you catch them on an off night at home. I've been on a team where I've won there before and drove away and thought, how's that happened? Probably Poole, really. They've probably been such a dominant outfit, haven't they, for many years now.
Yeah, so many good teams over those years as well of the different eras, from the present day, going backwards to, as you say, when Matt Ford first took over and a couple of years after that with Midlow, and they had their first success. Well, look, thanks a lot, Kyle, for joining us, and all the best with the testimonial. 14th of March is the date for your diary at Owlerton Stadium in Sheffield for your big day, or evening, I should say.
14th of March, Sheffield versus rest of the world, so you can get down, come and enjoy the meeting, and hopefully the weather's on our side and we can have a good night racing.
Absolutely. All the best to Kyle Howarth, our guest in this episode of Humans of Speedway. Thanks to you as well for listening. Don't forget to check out some of the previous episodes. There's loads to go at. I think it's about, 50 or 60 now in total in the series. Gina Manzarez, the Team USA captain, was the most recent guest, but we've also recently spoken with Charles Wright, another rider marking his testimonial year in 2024. We spoke with Wolves legendary team manager Peter Adams, of course, previously of Coventry and Cradley as well. Hans Nielsen, Brady Kurtz, Craig Ackroyd, Ben Cook and Alan Rossiter from this most recent series, and from the series prior to that, Danny King, Steve Worrell, Paul Bowen. You might recognise him off The Apprentice. You're fired. Fair enough, mate. Justin Sedgman, we've got Dave Rowe on there as well, Gary Flint and Leon Flint, Adam Roynan, many, many more besides. Please do take those in, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss the new episodes as and when they're coming your way. Once again, thanks a lot for listening to Humans of Speedway, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Sports Social Podcast Network.